Hello, everybody, and welcome back for another round of World Talks, where every word matters. My name is Don Arleth. Now, in light of the hybrid warfare being waged on the Belarus's shared border with Poland, and the recent death of a Polish soldier at the hands of migrants trying to force their way through, the Polish government is planning to change legislation to make it easier for soldiers guarding the border with Belarus and even allow the use of firearms. Now, joining me to discuss this issue here in the studio is Magdalena Baran, managing editor of Liberté magazine. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Good afternoon.
Now, in light of this most recent incident, probably the worst incident along the Polish-Belarus border with the death, which resulted in the death of a Polish soldier at the hands of migrants trying to force their way through the border, there's been some major adaptations. We see the rebirth of the buffer zone, if you will, by this government in comparison to the previous government. So what is your view on this? Is this the correct response at this time?
Well, we are dealing with a hybrid war, and the hybrid war has, in fact, no rules. You can expect everything. You can expect part of the very conventional war, but also crime, terrorism, and cyber attacks, and propaganda, and spreading hate speech. Whatever you can imagine can be a part of a hybrid war. Here, we deal also with the problem that a man, a person, a group of migrants became a weapon. They became weaponized, and in fact, they became a subject, an object, like having no dignity. In fact, so this is one of the problems we're dealing with right now. And yeah, I'm also an ethic. A professor of ethics. So from my point of view, you have like two sides. One is, yeah, I'm a specialist in warfare and I'm aware of the danger, and on the other hand, I'm an ethic, so I understand also the human dimension, the problems generated by or caused by weaponizing a person. Also, the next level we can talk about is when war become a kind of service that some countries, some even companies can offer to the country. And since we know that right now we can look at the migrants at our border from different point of views. There are women and children, and even during the rally last week, June the 4th, Donald Tusk was speaking that, yeah, we need an empathy also in the hearts of the soldiers, of the services that are present at the border, empathy for women and children, and that we cannot think even about the presence of any kind of fear or intolerance or hate at the Polish border, at the Polish land. But on the other hand, we have those migrants who, as yesterday I was listening to one of the generals, General Skripczak, and he was telling directly that, yeah, those are men that were trained in Russia, in Belarus, to sow fear. So they are a threat not only to Polish border, but as we know from the reports of some humanitarian organizations, they are also a threat to other migrants, to those people who really try to escape from their countries of origin when they are threatened by death or other sentences, including, for example, Kurds, Yazidi, or people who escaped from Afghanistan. So the reports I read yesterday are saying that, yeah, they are exposed to any kind of danger, including beating, including in the case of women, sexual harassment or even sexual crimes, sexual violence, and of course stealing food, stealing property, and so on and so on. So we have a really, really difficult situation of the migrants, and from one point of view we could understand that some people became frightened, some people became even can operate in a very high stress, but we also know that some of them are weaponized, really weaponized, and not in a metaphoric way, like in a hybrid war, but in a very, very straight way. So to sow fear and to try to push the Polish border to even to kill the Polish soldiers.
Right. It's definitely a very difficult balance to strike because, as you say, there are people that are nefarious and they mean harm, and they are put amongst these migrants, and then there are other simple migrants looking for better economic opportunities, a better life, and they are being weaponized. One thing that the Polish border guard says is that there is an increase in migrants coming from Russia, and that this isn't necessarily so much of a Belarusian hybrid threat as it is now Russia joining the fray and sending large amounts of people to force their way through the Belarusian border. But then that brings us back to, are we doing here in Poland the right thing? We've constructed this massive fence that cost about 250 million euros, I think it is, and well, it's supposed to be outfitted with the high tech, but then when we see the images of the soldier essentially getting stabbed through the fence, and then just after that, reports come out about 3 soldiers being detained and arrested for firing warning shots. Now, the question coming is definitely going to be, what kind of response should the Polish border guard take? Obviously, they shouldn't be losing their lives protecting the border, so they definitely need more tools at their disposal. Just a fact, a statistic, there were 1,190 warning shots on the Polish-Belarusian border were fired since the beginning of this year. And now we're considering new regulations to allow soldiers to use lethal force to protect themselves. Is this the correct response by the government?
First, just to refer to those migrants, or as we said, the weaponized migrants. Exactly, there's a huge group of people that was exactly trained in Russia and coming from Russia. Some of them even was fighting at the different Russians' war in the different conflicts Russia takes part in. Is it a good response? Yep, there's a certain level of response. One kind of response is really to prepare the projects of the Parliament Acts. And right now, yesterday in Polish Parliament, the director of National Defense Bureau was presenting the project from President's Palace, so written by the President's Duda team. And it was first to deterrence and to defense, as they said. Well, the Polish Parliament hall was almost empty while he was presenting the project. From what I know, in the few days we'll have a government project, but even the chief of this bureau said, yeah, we are ready to cooperate with government because there are certain cases, certain issues that we must cooperate about. So this is one thing. In this project and in all the projects we discuss right now, there's first, they show a need to make a, I didn't want to say to use the word legal, but to use the word, the weapon, the firearm legally. And they mentioned 3 cases. So when the border is attacked using the vehicle, other weapon, or
a direct threat to the soldier's life.
Yeah, direct threat to the soldier's life is another thing. One is this vehicle or other weapon. Second is when the soldier is supposed to defend his weapon, the weapon not to be taken from him. And the third case is when the life of the soldier would be threatened. So 3 cases, and from the I would say, military point of view, it makes sense. Of course, since you mentioned those warning shots, yeah, I read exactly the same statistics yesterday. And it is something we cannot probably avoid, especially if the group is getting more and more aggressive. And it's not about the frustration of the people at the border, but exactly about this militants trained in Russia. And we have proofs that there are younger and younger people coming, and there's no women, and there are no children, no elderly people. So exactly this group. And right now they just got a very simple weapon, yeah, like broken bottles, like that knife on the stick.
Right.
And they use it in a very, very brutal way. So we need to find, from military point of view, we need to find a solution. Also, when you listen to the people that live close to the border, and Podlasie is a very friendly region. So yesterday I heard a woman saying, we decided to lock the door, and we haven't locked the door since I was a child, in fact. So they started to feel this fear, even that is even stronger than it was before. Another reason, I will just jump to the buffer zone for a minute, because another reason the government decided about creating the buffer zone much smaller than than the previous one, because it's just 60 kilometers,
Right.
and it will be spread from 200 meters to 2 kilometers on the territory of Poland, and it's designed not to touch the touristic, not to have an impact on the touristic movement. Of course, it will have, but it's a different issue. But right now, they are also saying that it is to limit the possibility of smuggling migrants by some guides that still do it through the opened gates in the wall.
Despite the fence being there, they are still getting through, right?
Yeah.
There are migrants still getting through.
One of the friends who lives there told me that, in fact, he observed even the bigger movement of the migrants with the guides going through the forest than before the fence was built.
Okay. Well, now what about more advanced use of non-lethal means? And I ask this just looking at some of the images that we've seen coming from the border, where you have a large group of people charging the border, throwing broken bottles, rocks, and branches and whatnot, which has got to cause some kind of fear on the part of the border guards for their own personal safety. The increased use of tear gas, potentially rubber bullets, and what have you. Would that be a way to cull these violent outbreaks along the border?
If this is really a hybrid war, and it is a hybrid war, to be honest, I don't believe it's going to work. You can use the bullets, you can use even the water cannons. It won't work, because if you have first desperate people, but if you have people exactly trained to
agitate the situation.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Of course, we can also say, but yeah, the warning shots, it's not going to work either. So maybe building, but rational way of building, creating the Eastern Shield is a solution, because it is, as we talked here like two weeks ago, it is first it should be based on the power of our Polish army, of the power, strength of the alliance, but also on the social resilience. And the social resilience is the sine qua non of security right now, because if we increase if we'll be able to increase the social resilience, it will help people in Poland, it will help our citizens, but I think also that the government will earn some trust from people, including the services. So what we can do is just a rational look at the it's a building, because it's not a building in a construction way, this Eastern Shield, and to think reasonably about the buffer zone, how to operate there, and how to protect people, and how to protect also the soldiers there.
Right. Well, I'm afraid we've only scratched the surface. Magdalena Baran, my managing editor at Liberté, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope we can continue this discussion sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all the time we have on this edition of Talks. Thanks for joining me, and stick around for more here on TVP World.